All right. All right, the Malden City Council is hereby called to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our veterans, servicemen and women, and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Did anybody else have a moment of silence they'd like? Paul, would you like to? No. Oh, okay. I don't know if Craig is. All right. So yeah, I think I heard. You do. Yeah. So go ahead, cheating. So yeah.
Council is better for her to come back. I forgot last week.
Let's see.
I think the Nortons had 11 siblings in the city. They owned Norton Funeral Home for a time, and their mother, I think her name was Marietta, right? Am I correct? Totally unusual name, one that you don't hear of, especially now, but she passed away. I think she was 91, and she had I think there was 12 of them. I feel like there might have been 12. It's Danny, Leo. I worked with her daughter, Arlene. Danny is, not many are aware, but Danny is usually at just about every event. He's a bagpiper. I'm sure everybody, you know him if you saw him. So I just want to take a moment of silence for her passing.
Great, thank you. Councilor Spatafore, did you want to do nothing? Okay, all right. So then I'm just going to, we honor and acknowledge the Massachusetts, Pennacook, and Pawtucket peoples whose ancestral lands we now call home, and in which we gather today. We express gratitude to the indigenous people who have cared for this land for generations, predating European colonization and continuing to present. Moving forward, we are committed to ensuring that the histories, voices, and contributions of indigenous people are recognized and respected in the life of our city. So clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Here. Councilor Condon. Here. Councilor Crowe. Here. Councilor Linehan. Here. Councilor McDonald. Here. Councilor O'Malley. Here. Councilor Seega. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Here. Councilor Taylor. Council President Winslow.
Here. All right. So, all right. Do we have the Senior Center Director here right now? Do we? Okay. I do not. Oh, okay. 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 Well, as we're waiting for, why don't we go on to the next order of business, public comment. Do we have any public comment? All right. No public comment? All right. So public comment is allowed under the council rules. Each speaker is limited to subject matter relevant to tonight's agenda and must be keep their comments to 2 minutes. And we do not appear to have any public comment. The clerk is checking, but all right. No public comment. So, all right, here we go. Great. So we have Mr. Paul here. So we're ready for you. So why didn't you come up to the podium and just introduce yourself? And let's see. Let me turn on the podium. Yeah, let's see. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to have Councilor Hayes. Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just going to say why I had sponsored to have him come before us. Is that okay?
Yeah,
okay, just a little bit of an opening?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure, yeah.
So thank you. I just, I'm so happy that you're able to make it. A couple of months ago, we had gone, I go in the senior center a lot and just, check it out and have done a couple of events there. And we realized we haven't heard what's going on there. And there was so many great programs. It was jam-packed. So much stuff going on that I wanted to invite so you could let us know. And then we put a pause on it because you were in the middle of getting together some new policies that we figured let's just wait so that you can talk about that if you want to. So thank you so much for coming here tonight. And I'm assuming now we're getting something about the policies that. No, it's not, oh, okay.
Malden Monitor.
The newsletter, okay, great.
So-
And so this is just, yeah, we just wanted to hear about all the great stuff going on. Go ahead, thank you.
So first of all, thank you for having me. So as you know, my name is Mikeneil. I'm the program coordinator at the Malden Senior Center. And we've been having a lot of programs at the Senior Center. Since I got in, believe it or not, I've been here for 3 years already. And we've had a bunch of programs. When I first got in, it was right after COVID. We did not have a lot of things going on, but we've caught on sooner after, right? We had, at the very beginning, I would say we didn't have any issues, any problems, because we were going between 40 and 60 seniors at the Malden Senior Center daily. And in those 3 years, with new programs added month after month, year after year, now we're going over 100 every day. We have between 130 and 150 seniors coming to the Senior Center every day, and that's really a lot. That's probably the most since I've been there, and from what I've heard, is the most that the Senior Center ever had. I think Councilor Karen Hayes can attest. We never had that many people coming at the Senior Center. So the issues started to come when in our gym, we started to have way too many people attending classes. So, which is a good problem to have for me, which shows me that my programs are working and the seniors are really enjoying those programs. So we wanted to kind of offer variety at the program variety at the Senior Center. So basically, we're ending up playing with the schedule a little bit and having the auditorium turn into a second place where we can have certain activities. So right now, currently at the Malden Senior Center, we have the auditorium. Sometimes we run programs, and we use it as an auditorium for a certain event and entertainment, as we always did. But we also have certain days, especially Tuesday and Wednesday, we have programs running there. At the same time, the gym is also running. Right now, I can tell you that we are using basically all the rooms at the Senior Center, including the computer class. We have over 8 instructors, paid instructors, and all these, on top of all the activity that the instructors are running, we also have a group of volunteers that are providing programs. We have so many programs, and the seniors wanted to share what they think about it so much that we also created a little group at the Senior Center called the Sunshine Committee. We call it like that. It's nothing official. We just call it like that. It's a little group where we open our arms and say, come here. All the seniors want to share their thoughts, share their ideas, programs, and activity, and we allow them not only to share them, but to participate in making those programs happen. So it's not only they would come in and they would share their thoughts and their opinions about programs and stuff like that, but they would also participate in making those programs happen. And it's been a blast. I don't know if some of you showed up in the last Halloween party we had. I posted a couple pictures. It was a blast. I have so many people coming and saying we should make other programs like that happen. Needless to say that we have a lot of programs, and the Senior Center is jam-packed. The issue that we are having right now is literally the amount of people at the Senior Center at once. Just as an example, today I walked in, and around 10:30, 11, I saw that we had a lot of people in the building. I went to my staff, Deborah Camarada, and I asked her to run me basically a summary of how many people checked in today. Now, keep in mind, the number of people that checked in is not the number of people in the building, because some people just walk in and don't check in, which is another problem. But the number of people at 11:30, where at that time we didn't have bingo yet, there's a lot of program we didn't have, was already 76 people at that time. So we had 76 people at 11:30, and we had 2 or 3 other programs on that day today that hasn't happened, meaning that we were on a pace to have about 150 people that day. Tomorrow is our biggest day. On Wednesday, generally, we have 7 or 8 programs running and 4 at the same time. So we're anticipating a lot of people. Again, I want to go back to the problem we have is the amount of people at the same time. Because of the amount of people we had at the same time, I do realize that a lot of seniors who are resident of Malden came to me, went to the mayor's office and to some of my staff and complained about the fact that the senior center is way too packed and they don't even feel that they want to go exercise because the gym or the auditorium is already packed. So I realized that a lot of our residents, because after all, the senior center is called the Malden Senior Center for a reason. And a lot of our residents wouldn't come to the programs because we had too many people in the building already. So I talked to my staff and I talked to my supervisors, and I basically came up with a program, a new policy, I would say, that would mirror what what most of the other cities around us are having. For example, and I have that sheet, I don't know if you have it, this sheet right here, which is from Melrose. This one, right here. It's from the Melrose Senior Center. And if, for example, you would look at Tuesday the 10th, you would realize that there are certain activities that they put $5 on it. So, I'll wait a second.
Which one? This one?
Correct, I'm talking about this one. Yes, the black and white one. So if you guys look on Tuesday the 10th, if any senior, whether it's in Melrose or outside of Melrose, were to come and participate in some of those classes, if they want to participate in Tai Chi, Sparta Fitness, and line dance, they would have to pay $15 for that day. Only for that day, they would have to pay $15 for that day. If they want to participate in Tai Chi and Sparta Fitness and they want to go to the holiday party, they would have to pay $5, and then $15. That would be $25 for that day. With the program that I'm trying to implement, will be, in a way, much better than that. It would be only charging people out of town $5 for the whole day, regardless of the class that they are taking. Now, there are some classes. Now, if you're looking at this, now I want to point out this sheet, the other one. If you're looking at this, I highlighted a series of blue classes. I highlighted them in blue just so that I can talk about them a little bit. Those classes are classes that currently we are paying, the instructor are getting paid to run those classes. So the city is basically paying for those classes. Those are the only classes that will have people pay the $5 for. So if you're coming to the senior center and you're not taking none of these classes, for example, you wouldn't have to pay anything. Just the same way it is. And along with those classes that you wouldn't pay for, I included classes that are volunteer-based, so people are volunteering to do those classes. Classes that are sponsored by Mystic Valley, CHA, social service classes. Well, not even classes, social service. So for example, if someone come to apply for mass health or fuel assistance or something like that, all these will be free. You would have to walk in, sign in, and then go to these events. I also put certain classes like knitting and crocheting, like I said, those classes are basically run by volunteers. So the city don't pay for these classes, so really there is no reason to charge anything for these classes. And then the only other things involved that people, if they participate in, would have to pay are things that we have to spend a lot of money, I would say, for the upkeep of these. So, for example, ping pong and pool. So, for example, the pool situation at the Malden Senior Center, I had to refill the table and buy new cues, and it cost me over $1,200. And then for ping pong, we just changed all 4 ping pong tables, and they were about $1,600 a piece. So, and of course, we have to buy pool sticks, ping pong balls, and stuff like that. So those are only the classes that will get charged, and the advantage we'll get right now if someone out of town would come to the senior center is like they would pay $5 and they would have access to all these classes. So that's basically, in a nutshell, that's basically the plan, the new rule that will be implemented. It's pretty straightforward. We have a system in place. I can talk about the finance part. It's as easy, is very simple. I would say Malden resident will come, will check in, which right now, technically, you should check in if you come to the senior center. You would walk in, you would show your ID, prove that you live in Malden, you'll receive a bracelet, and you're good. You don't have to pay, you're good, you have access to everything. So this process, that we have, do not affect Malden resident at all. Malden resident shouldn't be affected. It's called the Malden Senior Center, and I think if a group of people deserve to receive all the credit or the benefit of the program that we have, it should be the Malden seniors, the resident of Malden. If now you're out of town, right, and you want to participate in classes that are not highlighted, right? I just put it right now in a highlight so that you can understand. If you want to participate on classes that are not highlighted, you would get in, you would check in, you would get in, you wouldn't receive a bracelet. You would not receive a bracelet. Now, if you want to participate in those classes that are highlighted, at least one of them for the day, you would pay your $5, you will receive a bracelet. That way we will know that you belong to the class, that you pay for that class. At the end of the day, the bracelet that match the non-Malden resident will match the money exactly that you receive. So if I have $20 paying 20 people receiving a bracelet from out of town, I will have $100. That's basically what it is. At the end of every day, which is ideally what we want to do, you know, there is snow, whatever, but ideally at the end of every day, me or Deborah Camarada will take the cash and we'll bring it to the treasurer. We'll fill the proper form, which we have, and we'll bring it to the treasurer's office every day. That's the goal. We also have, again, I always think backup, plan B. In case that we cannot walk it in, right now we currently have a safe in my office, in the director's office at the Malden Senior Center, which we had for a while. We'll put it there, it will be safe, and the very next day we'll do the same process and bring it to the treasurer's office. That's basically the plan in a nutshell. If you have any questions, I'm open for them.
Okay. Does anybody have any particular questions of Mr. Paul, or just, all right, no, I will, I see Karen Lynch from Senior Action out here. I know that tomorrow's Senior Action is kind of holiday thing, so people can come down at noontime and crowd up the senior center. It's wonderful to hear that, you know, post-COVID, the center is being filled up, and you're working out the issues in terms of, you know, being fair to our residents as well as.
Absolutely.
You know, I think we all got some feedback from people out of town of just, you know, one of the things for seniors is socialization. So that does help our seniors wherever people are coming from. But I think we have to be fair to ourselves that it is the Malden Senior Center, so it sounds like you're taking a very sensible approach.
To actually answer to that, again, socialization wouldn't be affected because if for example, I'm out of town and I said, all I want to do is to drink a cup of coffee, talk to some of my friends, you wouldn't get charged at all. You would only get charged for people if you participate in some of these classes that the city of Malden is paying for.
And that's, I mean, it sounds like Melrose, they actually charge you $15 just to come in the door.
Melrose, for example, on the day, like I show you, on that day, the holiday party, that $15, so basically someone would be at the entrance of that room that they're doing that party, and if you need to get access to that party, you need to pay $15, which we don't do right now.
All right.
And if you participate in other classes, you would have to pay $5 per class.
Above, okay,
Whereas for us, it would be, for example, on Wednesday, if you want to take that one, on Wednesday, we have about 7 classes that technically, if you want to participate in, you would have to pay, if it was in Melrose, you would have to pay 7 times 5, $35. You would have to pay $5 and you can participate in all of them.
Okay, so, I mean, it sounds like we're being pretty reasonable, so let's see. Councilor Colon-Hayes?
Thank you. I just want to thank you again for coming here. I know how hard it is from doing a very similar thing, which is why I wanted to bring up, I like how you organized it with the one day. I know you were going around and around. We had a lot of talk about how to address that, and I think you came up with the best example and on how to work it. I did also want to just ask quickly, because I know, and I could hear my counselor to the side of me, just about the payment of cash. I know in the past, so I just wanted to make sure that people hear that listening. In the past, we weren't able to have cash collected. We did it, I had done it years ago as well, with a very similar process, but I think it might have even been dropped off to Maria Louise. I'm trying to remember now how we did that, but it was very similar. It worked. We never had an issue about it. And then also to address the fact that once we did have a similar issue where it was getting very over, it was getting packed in there, and once we did start charging for similar things, it really did kind of bring it down to a more manageable level. So I appreciate what you're doing here, and I'm assuming that there's a lot of wear and tear on the building too. So I do, I thank you for going over that. So just if you could just talk a little bit about that, it's okay to collect the cash, that you went through all the proper channels and got.
Yes, I am aware that that would have been brought up. It's something I've been thinking of, and it's something like I told my staff. I talked to my staff about it. One of the first things I told them is, I know it's gonna take it's extra work on us, but it's something that is necessary to better serve the population that we are here to serve, that we are meant to serve. So, and as I say, it's a very transparent, and it's something you can actually pinpoint. And keep in mind also, if the numbers were to go down, we're not talking about a big amount of cash on a daily basis, right? We're talking about if you have 30 people, that's about $150, and all of them, we can account for it. And I also like the fact that it's just $5 because it's a round number. You can really know if I have 20 people, this is the amount of money I can have. Right now we are all set to go. We have 2 cash registers. So if there is any doubt of something happening, we can pull it in the middle of the day at any point in time, switch it so that we can do a recount and stuff like that. Go over the numbers. Is it perfect? Like someone might give something to someone where they shouldn't be doing? No, it's not perfect, but it's also something we can catch if it were to happen. So it's something I've been working not only with seniors but with money management for a while to know basically how I can manage that. And I'm very
That's
confident I
fantastic.
can
So
do
I
that.
think we're going to go on to Councilor O'Malley because we do have a lot of business tonight. So, all right, so Councilor O'Malley, great.
Thank you, Mr. Paul, for coming. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And just to kind of highlight what you're saying is that Malden residents will never pay for any of the classes, Malden residents.
At least for now.
For now, under the current proposal.
Yes.
And then non-Malden residents who just want to go to socialize or get social services, they're not going to pay. It's only if you're taking a class.
It's only for taking class, and I don't want to say only classes, but also, and I put ping pong and pool in it because of the wear and tear and the constant maintenance we have to do for the pool table, buying the ping pong balls and the ping pong tables, and for buying the ping pong balls and the paddle and stuff like that. So basically, regular maintenance and wear and tear.
All right.
Those are the 2 categories.
Understood. And I would just echo the sentiments of my colleagues that make sure you do, and I'm sure you've already done this, but constant communication with the treasurer and the controller, just making sure you have good cash management. It has been a challenge that we've seen, and we just want to make sure that you know that we have you have our support. Just make sure you follow those proper procedures.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck in the new year, and it sounds like fun.
Thank you.
Great. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Thank you for your work. All right. All right. We're ready to the next order of business. We have the consent agenda. This evening's consent agenda consists of 4 petitions to be referred to license. Does any counselor have a desire to remove any of these items from the consent agenda for the purpose of further discussion? So we basically have 4 Class 2 licenses. So Counselor Sika makes a motion to approve, seconded by Counselor Condon. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, so the agenda is approved. Those licenses are renewed. Next order of business. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so, all right. So,
Burn them.
all right, I'm sorry.
I just
misread.
wanted to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, all right, so I'm sorry, okay, yeah, all right. All right, so, all right, I misread it, so it's to be referred, so why don't we just, so we'll take that vote again. So on Councilor's motion, Sika's motion to approve the consent agenda, which refers 4 Class 2 licenses to the License Committee, and seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say yes, so those licenses are referred to License Committee. Thank you for that correction. Thank you. All right. Next order of business. Yeah.
Paper 494-22, order that the City Council will open nominations and vote on Council President for the 2025 calendar year.
All right. I will now open the nomination process for the next Council President. After nominations are made and discussed, don't forget, well, we will close the nominations, but let's see, Councilor Condon, you have the mic.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Right now, I'd like to nominate Ryan O'Malley for Council President for the year 2025.
Okay. And Councilor Crowe or?
I second that.
Oh, so, all right, you good? Okay, so Councilor Sika seconds that.
Third.
All right, okay. All right, we have second and thirds, all that. So, so any further nominations? All right, so on. All right, on Councilor Spatafore's motion to close nominations, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So let's take a roll call vote here on the nomination then, so, all right? Or just, or if, what? Okay, so, yep. We just want to do a unanimous consent, Mr. Let me get the mic up here, so, all right.
I just wanted to know if Councilor O'Malley would like to say
Okay,
anything
all right,
before
okay.
we vote, or if
Okay. Okay. All right,
I said personal privilege.
okay.
We got personal privilege.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so we're, all right.
All right.
His best move so far.
All right. So
To decline to speak.
Is it in order to make a motion then
All right, you want to make a motion to unanimous consent or what? So,
do you need a motion to take this vote, or do you just call the vote?
yeah, I think we close nominations, so, yeah, so it's on Councilor McDonald's motion to elect Councilor O'Malley as president for 2025 calendar year. Seconded by, oh, he, okay. Okay. All right. So on Councilor Condon's motion to elect Councilor O'Malley as president for the 2025 calendar year, seconded by Councilor Sika. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the Councilor O'Malley's nomination is unanimous. So, all right, a long time coming. Congratulations. So, all right, okay, all right, and then okay, all right, that advice. All right, we are on UMA tonight, right? So.
Paper 495-24, order that the council approve the 2025 schedule of council meetings.
Okay, so yeah, I know we did, Carol and Ann and I went back and forth and reviewed this calendar. One of the things we are doing is, I think it's a good practice anytime we start the year to have, you know, the first meeting where we make committee assignments, and the second one will also be a full meeting. So that's the type of thing, and we work to try to arrange committee meetings on weeks that are like vacation weeks, that type of thing, so that we can still do business, but you know, if we wouldn't have a full meeting, you know, unless we have a council as a whole. So there's just some of the things. I don't know if anybody has any comments. Otherwise, yes, Councilor McDonald. Let me get your mic on there. There you go.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to say I think this is a great schedule, and you know, I know that you did. I'm sure that you did this because it shows in the calendar. But I wanted to have us state publicly that this is checked against a number of what I would think of as the most prominent religious and cultural observances that we really would not want to conflict because it would not enable any participation, that they're at that level. And the things that I always look for on that list are Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah in the Jewish tradition, Eid al-Fitr in the Muslim tradition, and Lunar New Year in Chinese, Vietnamese, any type of East Asian culture. And so these don't conflict with any of those from what I can tell. I don't know if anyone else has any other information to the contrary, but I think that's important, and would just recommend actually that, you know, next time we consider council rules, that we actually might notate some of the holidays that we do regularly check the schedule again so that that is clear for the community. So I just wanted to state that on the record.
All right,
Happy to
then
support it.
Councilor O'Malley, yeah.
I would move to approve the council calendar. And just to Councilor McDonald's mentioning, since he did mention it, we did do that check. And so we have, there was only one holiday that there was a conflict, and we have chose to have 3 council meetings in the month of September. And the Tuesday, that would have been Rosh Hashanah, we will not have a council meeting that date. Thank you.
All right. Good. All right, so on Councilor O'Malley's motion to adopt the council for 2025, the council calendar for 2025, seconded by Councilor Sika. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No, so that order is adopted. So, all right. So now we go on to communications.
Paper 496.
Yep, go ahead.
Paper 496-24, communication from Planning Board regarding CCP 356/2024, site plan review for education, religious, and daycare ordinances.
All right, so on Councilor Linehan's motion to accept the committee report, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so the committee report is accepted and placed on file. Clerk will read the paper.
Paper 356-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden is hereby amended by adding Title 12, Chapter 12, Section 500, Site Plan Review, Educational, Religious, and/or Child Care Facility Uses.
Okay, I'm going to actually pass the gavel on to our incoming president, who's pro tem, so I could speak on this, but I recognize Councilor Linehan to speak for the committee.
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. So the committee met jointly with the Planning Board on December 11th. As anybody who watched it would have seen, there were a lot of participation from the public, a lot of comments, a lot of great discussion at the joint hearing. Since that time, and again, I know the sponsor is going to speak to this in a little bit, but we are taking on board those comments, both from the Planning Board and some of the public comments that have come in, and the sponsor is reworking and adjusting, making some additions to the paper. So my hope is that we can actually refer it back to Rules and Ordinance to discuss those, and of course have it undergo a rigorous legal review, and then bring it back to the full council with suggested amendments.
Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, so I have, one of the recommendations in the committee report from, the report from the planning board, and Michelle Romero, our city planner, is here. Her recommendation was to have the draft ordinance sent to legal. So it has been sent on to legal, and we will have, the solicitor's office will review that. And we actually, we're looking to get, the mayor offered that we actually get some outside counsel as well to help us on, draft up the ordinance to respond to fully the comments. So that's one thing that we're doing. And then, my recommendation is, often when we have the reports come in from the planning board, that we will, go either, sort of accept them in entirety or make some changes. I think because there's a lot of comments that Ms. Romero's made, I think it's best to just refer to that report to the Rules and Ordinance Committee as well with the draft committee, and then we can, come the new year, we can, go through and work on whatever changes we get, that are consistent with the planning board's recommendations, as well as any further legal input we get. So, but right now, I think it's best to wait until the Rules and Ordinance Committee really works on an updated draft before we say, we accept 100% of the planning board, report, or we accept 95%, and we make a tweak. So that's my recommendation as the sponsor to how to go forward here. There's certain, there was, there were comments, and there was a good discussion, and there is a letter that's attached here from the Mystic Valley Charter School. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of thought that has to go into finalizing this, but that's why we have hearings. So, all right, so that's my comments. Yeah.
Are there any other comments on the paper? I believe, is there a motion on the floor to refer to ordinance by Councilor Linehan, seconded by Councilor Crowe? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The paper has been referred unanimously.
All right, so I will take back the gavel here. So, all right, clerk will read, so we have the communication. So,
Paper 497-24, communication from Planning Board regarding CCP 376/2024 miscellaneous zoning ordinance revisions.
so on Counselor Linehan's motion to receive and place the communication on file, seconded by Counselor O'Malley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The communication is placed on file. Clerk will read the paper.
Paper 376-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, Title 12, is hereby amended as follows, with a list of presented changes which are attached to the history of the paper.
Okay, so I will recognize Counselor Linehan for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. And again, as it states, these are largely administrative and wording changes or changes that essentially codify practices that we're already undertaking related to previous non-conforming uses and what has to go for special permit or what it does not have to go for special permit. It's a really long laundry list of small administrative changes that are contained in here. I know our city planner is in the audience if folks do have questions more in finer grain detail than that, but it is cleaning up a lot of wording and, as I said, codifying existing practices so that so that our ordinances reflect what we're already doing with pre-existing non-conforming properties.
So, did people get a chance to read the planning board recommendation that Ms. Romero prepared? I mean, like I say, there's just a couple minor amendments that the planning board did recommend, to proceed with. So I think the next step would be to, if we can make a choice to make those amendments and proceed to enroll, if that is the favor, or what we would like to do here.
I think if, Michelle, could you possibly come up and talk just quickly about what the amendments are so that we have a sense of what we would be voting on there? And then I think that's a pretty straightforward, I'd be willing to make that motion.
Good evening, Michelle Romero, City Planner. I'm just going to move this. So this is paper 376 of 2024. You just want to talk about the additional amendments that the planning board recommended?
Yes, please.
So there were two additional revisions recommended. One is to section 1228.010C to further revise the proposed amendment to read as follows. The language that was originally proposed after further review by myself and Building Commissioner Nelson Miller, because we had worked on drafting the language to present to you, we realized it needed a little further clarification. So that is why this additional language, or clarifying language, I should say, is being recommended. In that particular section, for your reference, applies to the three-family dwellings. So pre-existing non-conforming three-family dwellings. The provision has to do with reconstruction of a three-family dwelling, and if that includes an addition or an extension. What we recommended and what the planning board is now recommending to you is that that language be clarified so that any additions or extensions would still need to comply with the current ordinance. So that is what that language is about. The second recommendation for clarification is section 12.28.010D. That particular section has to do with residential office, properties that are located in the residential office, business, and industrial zoning districts. I'm sorry, I might be reading from the wrong section. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry. Subsection C was, I skipped ahead. Subsection C had to do with the three families. Subsection D has to do with pre-existing non-conforming property in residence A, B, and C zoning districts. So the additional language would clarify when there's a dormer addition. Originally, we had we'd suggested language that was going to trigger a special permit still being required if the dormer increased the gross floor area of where the dormer was by 50% or more. And both Mr. Miller and I felt that was a little convoluted and confusing. And we had proposed it, so we made some further recommendations to the planning board, and they considered those recommendations and agreed with them. So this is what we hope is more clarifying language, so the provision would now read, dormer additions to a pre-existing non-conforming residential dwelling regulated by this section shall not require a special permit, provided that any addition or extension shall comply with the current ordinance. And that would include dimensional controls, parking requirements, or they would need to seek a variance. So basically, that means if they're putting on a dormer addition, but it still complies, for example, with height and some of the other requirements, setbacks, it's not creating a new bedroom, so it wouldn't trigger another parking space, so it's still gonna comply with all the zoning. It would not need to come in for a special permit. So I know this, we're not talking about single and two-family dwellings. These are pre-existing non-conforming in the residential district. So, for example, and there was a recent case, there was a four-family, I won't give the address, but there was a four-family that was gonna add dormers to it. The dormers weren't creating bedrooms, they were just expanding living space. The height was still gonna be in conformance, even though the use itself isn't conforming because it's in Residence A and four families aren't allowed. So, but it was still triggering a review of really what were structural changes and alterations to a building, even though there were no new violations being created. No new parking was required, they weren't changing the height to be, you know, in violation of anything. That was still triggering a special permit. So with this new language, that particular dwelling or project wouldn't need to come for special permit.
Okay.
If they were, again, creating a new bedroom, needed additional parking, or violating height, they would be triggering the need to go actually now for variance, not special permit, so.
And can I ask a clarifying
Yeah.
question? Just because I get this question a lot from the public. What identifies something as a bedroom, and what is the max height?
Well, the max height depends on the use. So the max height, let me just get this out, so make sure I'm telling you the right things. So the max height for example, a three-family or a four-family, the maximum height is 3 stories, but no more than 35 feet.
Okay.
So like in that particular case, the dormers was already at 35 feet. The dormers weren't creating an additional story, and they weren't triggering an additional height. And height's measured differently, so.
Okay.
And then what was the first part of the question?
What qualifies something as a bedroom? I understand that creating a bedroom triggers the parking ordinance, but what makes something not a bedroom?
Well, the bedroom, and I don't have all the requirements in front, but there are certain building code and sanitation code requirements. It has to be a certain square footage, it has to have certain light, certain ventilation, certain ceiling height.
Okay.
It's not, as people think, a closet or a door. That's not what makes the bedroom. It's these other building and sanitation code requirements. I don't have the number with me off the top of my head, but it's a certain square footage.
Okay.
And then, like I said, light, ventilation, ceiling height, which is why, an egress, right? Which is why, you know, these basement bedrooms typically don't comply with code, so they're not allowed.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Any other questions?
I don't see any lights. Oh, let's see, Councilor O'Malley, yeah.
So it's similar to the questions I had during the public hearing. I'm still having a tough time understanding the difference between what we're proposing for 1 and 2 families and what we're proposing for the 3 families. I think it's just hard to understand whether or not are we making it more strict on 3 families, or are we making it less strict on 3 families?
Okay, so let's start with the single and two families. So the single and two families, even if they're pre-existing non-conforming, so they don't comply with setbacks, dimensional controls, parking, they're exempt if they're legally conforming prior to the date we adopted the ordinance or the amendment, so.
Exempt to add dormers.
No, exempt from current regs.
Okay.
Compliance with current regs. So a pre-existing single or a 2 is exempt from compliance with dimensional controls or parking. It can stay the same. Once they start to propose additions or expansions, that's when it will trigger review under current standards. So that's why when they go to add a bedroom, even if they're not structurally changing, but they're converting a room to a bedroom, it's gonna trigger the parking requirement. If they're adding a dormer, it might trigger the height, and for single and two, the height is 2.5 stories, but no more than 30 feet. So sometimes the dormer triggers that height violation. So singles and twos would need to go for variances. They're not subject to the special permits at this, they have never been, so. But let me just find this section here I wanted to tell you. So the proposed change, in our exemption or our exception saying single and two families may be altered or structurally changed, that whole section mirrors state law. So that exemption is similar to what's in the state law. Now, what's being proposed to be changed, and this is 1228.010B. Let me just get that, hold on. So the proposal, in this particular case, the proposal, the language is just to codify what we're already doing. The interpretation we've been making historically and that we currently make. So it's just adding this language in because there always seems to be confusion. Property owners, homeowners, developers, even with some city officials, that it's not clearly written what is going to trigger needing to go for a variance and what isn't. So the recommendation is to add this language. So it's not making it more restrictive or less restrictive, it's just codifying what we already do. And it's adding this language. So it's now gonna read, any single or two family may be altered or structurally changed, provided said alteration or structural change that increases the footprint. So they're expanding out, right, the footprint of the building, getting closer to the property lines, and or the height of the structure. Okay, so a dormer in and of itself may not increase the height of the structure. It's only going to increase the height of the structure if it creates another story, essentially. And or the way it's measured, which is, I'll just mention briefly, height is not just like to the top of the roof. That's not how height's measured. We define height is measured from the mean level of the established grade to the mean height of the roof. Okay, so if you have a slanted roof, the highest point of the roof is higher than that 30 feet, right? But they're gonna take the midpoint, and if you're on a sloped lot, it's gonna change, et cetera. So you're not gonna actually increase the height of the structure just with the dormer. I just want that clear. Certain size dormers will increase it.
Can I ask two clear, and I
Yes.
know we have a long agenda, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
what we're doing is
No,
what
that's
we are,
important.
what we intend. So like, let's say we have a one or a two family, and they want to do an addition on the back. It's pre-existing non-conforming in terms of its a setback to a neighbor, say it's 3 feet, and they want their addition to also be 3 feet. Is that allowed or not allowed?
Right now, they would need to seek a variance. That would be increasing the violation. And under this new provision, or with the new language, it will clearly state increases the footprint. Right now, it doesn't state that, but that is how it's interpreted, and that is how it's always been interpreted.
And if they didn't want to spend the money to get a variance, they would have to make that addition comply with the setback.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Right, so then it's just putting in this language, or obtain a variance. So it's just really codifying, because like you're saying, do I need it, do I not need it? This is gonna be very clear now. You're gonna know you need to go for the variance, or you don't need to go for the variance.
So now I understand one and twos. What are
Yes.
we proposing for the three families?
Okay, so the provision for 3 families is something that we added, I say we in the city, because over the past couple decades, there were at one point a series of 3-family dwellings that burnt and that were destroyed. And there were, all of a sudden, it seemed like once a year, and they were all throughout the city, so it was not like any particular neighborhood or anything. They were needing to come in for a special permit to reconstruct. And, you know, the homeowners and councils would say, well, if they're putting the same exact 3-family back, there's no change, why do they need to come in for the special permit? So that is why, and I want to say it was probably 12 or 15 years ago, we added this provision that says any three-family dwelling may be reconstructed in the same dimensions or lesser in the same location or location that doesn't exceed the existing footprint and having the same number of bedrooms or fewer. So we made an exception for these three families. So if the three-family was destroyed or burnt or needed to be reconstructed, they wouldn't need to go through the whole special permit process basically to put back. And that was very specific just to three families. It's not from apartment buildings and everything else. It's very specific.
So for the three-family, if I now want to add an addition on the back, pre-existing non-conforming, 3 feet,
Right, so now the language.
would that be a variance?
Right, the language, that is what would, the language that we originally recommended said an addition shall comply with dimensional controls or shall obtain a variance. Okay, so that wasn't what was happening. If you wanted to put an addition on, you were gonna go through for the special permit process.
Okay, so now the three families don't have to go through a special permit?
They don't have to go through the special permit process, but
They just need to get a variance.
the additional language we are providing is that any addition shall comply with the ordinance, because it is possible that you could put an addition on a three-family and comply with the ordinance, and we don't want you to have to go through a variance or special permit process if you comply.
Okay.
So that's why the clarifying language, the additional language is added.
Thank you
or
for entertaining me on that. I apologize
Yeah.
it took longer. I just wanted to make sure that what we
Yeah.
were doing, we understood. Thank you.
Yeah. They're treated differently from singles and twos, but they've always been treated differently from singles and twos, so.
Okay, so any further discussion on the planning board report and recommendations? So I guess the first thing we will do is entertain a motion to accept the planning board report. So motion by Counselor Spatafora to accept the planning board's report, seconded by Counselor Condon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, no, so that we've accepted planning board recommendations. And so then we have to make a motion to amend the paper to be consistent with the planning board recommendations. So on Counselor Karen Colin Hayes' motion to amend the paper to be consistent with the planning board recommendations, second by Counselor Spatafora. Clerk will call the roll on that.
Counselor Cologne Hayes? Yes. Counselor Condon? Yes. Counselor Crowe? Yes. Counselor Linehan?
Yes.
Counselor McDonald? Yes. Counselor O'Malley? Yes. Counselor Seega? Yes. Counselor Spatafora? Yes. Counsel President Winslow?
Yes, all right, so the paper has been amended, and so then on Counselor Linehan's motion to enroll, second by Counselor Crowe, clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Cologne Hayes? Yes. Counselor Condon? Yes. Counselor Crowe? Yes. Counselor Linehan?
Yes.
Counselor McDonald?
Yes.
Counselor O'Malley? Yes. Counselor Seega? Yes. Counselor Spatafora? Yes. Counsel President Winslow?
Yes, so that paper is enrolled. So, all right, clerk, so that next paper, what I'd like to do is, these next papers are sort of covering the same topic area. So what I'd like to have is a motion to accept both the next papers for the community.
So moved.
So on Counselor Linehan's motion to accept and receive on the communications related to paper 38924 and 39924, and seconded by Counselor O'Malley. All those in favor of accepting the communication putting on files, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we've accepted the paper. Clerk will read the papers.
Paper 389-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, Title 12, is hereby amended as follows. Did you want to read the other one at the same time?
Yeah, why don't you read them both? Okay.
Paper 399-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, 12.32.060 definition zoning is hereby amended by adding under paragraph B, retail car wash, an establishment operating a facility that provides motor vehicle washing, vacuuming, or cleaning service to the public using either automatic, manual, or self-service methods. A retail car wash establishment does not include establishments that perform vehicle washing, vacuum, and cleaning services in association with vehicle sales or rental facilities, or as a courtesy by motor vehicle repair shops to vehicles being repaired.
All right, so Counselor Linehan for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, as we just discussed, these are sort of two related papers at the joint hearing on December 11th. We did take these up in tandem. Essentially, the first one would look to create a new business category in our code, motor vehicle services that would be distinct from gas filling stations and motor vehicle services or repair, that car washes would fall under. The second paper that would have defined that in the zoning, it was the planning board's recommendation that that's essentially not necessary if we create this use category, and so that is, we were comfortable with that as a committee. I would also want to just give Councilor O'Malley as the sponsor an opportunity to expand on that at all, but I think we've left things in a good place now where we've achieved the objectives that we set out to do and don't have to necessarily take up that second piece of the paper.
All right, so Councilor O'Malley?
Yep, that is correct. So the second paper was looking to just define car wash, partly in case the first paper that just kind of defines motor vehicle services generally was not successful. The second paper of car wash was not recommended by the planning board, whereas the first paper was, I believe, unanimously recommended. Again, this is just now defining these uses for the first time. And when it comes to the hours of operation that we were talking about, that's still an ordinance and we're still figuring that out. Ms. Romero was really helpful in terms of that discussion and helping us to maybe be able to tailor hours of operation a little bit more than we previously thought. I'm available here for any questions, and I thank the planning board for their work on this.
All right, so we have Councilor Spatafora.
Yeah, thank you. So under this definition, is somebody who performs detailing considered a car wash now?
Okay,
I don't think she heard you, Counsel. Michelle?
all right, no, I'm sorry.
I don't want to overcomplicate this. I know we got a
Yeah,
long
yeah,
agenda.
yeah,
It just seems like if you read this, you shake your head, Counsel? It would be, right? Detailing?
It does say car washing, oil changes, detailing, and routine maintenance services excluding fuel.
So you would be a car wash if you're detailing cars now?
You'd be a motor vehicle service, right?
And again, this would.
I don't have my glasses on, full disclosure, so I probably couldn't see that.
And just to clarify, this does not change anything that's pre-existing now, like.
No, I was just wondering, like, I don't want to make it, somebody who does detail, a lot of times they're smaller companies and they're 1 or 2 man shops. I don't know if we change the definition, does it make it harder for them, is my point. That's all. I'm not trying to change the ordinance, but if it's excluded, detailing.
If I may, so this is proposing, as Council Linehan said, a new use category. It will be called motor vehicle services. It will include car wash.
Yep.
It will include detailing, and it will include these oil changes, routine maintenance. So if you don't want to include that type of business, you should amend the definition. Otherwise, it will be included. Right now, detailing is, if it's a standalone detailing business, it is being considered a retail service, just like a car wash is. This is creating a new use category. You don't have to be a car wash that is detailing. It can be a standalone, any of these companies.
I don't really have a particular, I just know that a lot of these detailers like perform in like one car bay, and I don't know if this makes it harder for them to get future business, or is it makes it just another hurdle? I don't know, and again, I don't want to screw up the paper, but you know what I'm saying, a detailer,
Yeah.
right? You bring your car there, they charge $100, they clean it, they shampoo it, you leave. Not a car wash, I get a car wash, I understand that.
But Michelle, just to clarify, if we already have motor vehicle service type businesses that provide a plethora of different motor vehicle services, like detailing, like oil changes, like some of the other things, they would be, pre-existing.
Right, they would be exempt if they're already in operation, but if you're saying a new business,
Yeah.
if a new business wants to open, it will be subject to these new regs.
Okay. And it's, right now, detailing is under retail sales?
Yes, that's,
Is that what a
no,
co-
service, it's my understanding it's under services.
Is that what a car wash is under now, too?
Yes, yes.
But we can do further work, is my understanding, to set, this prevents us from making changes to things like hours that would affect all of those uses. So we're basically narrowing as we go. So we have to define first,
Yep.
right, and then we can get more fine grained.
Yeah, and I don't want to throw,
from there.
I didn't come to the meeting, but the same token is, I just wanted, that's the only thing that stuck out is a lot of those are, like, I know a couple teenagers who set up
Yeah.
detailing, and I don't want to have neighbors complain, and then we have to obey the ordinance and say, you can't do what you're doing now, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you do want to discuss it further, I would suggest you discuss it at the committee level. You can amend this definition. This will become part of the zoning law if you move this forward.
It's up to the committee. Again, I don't think it's a,
Yeah. It was just a laundry list of
No, I
ideas
get
that
it.
we came up with.
Do you wanna do that?
Yeah.
In the interest of making sure that we're all comfortable with what we're doing, I would move to refer to ordinance just to make sure that we button this down.
Yeah.
that's fair.
All right,
Again, thank
so,
you.
all right, so just, do we want to accept the committee,
Yeah.
accept the planning board recommendations and then
And then refer.
refer it? So, all right, so.
So on the motion to accept the planning board's recommendation and refer it to
All right,
ordinance.
so Counselor O'Malley makes his motion to accept the planning board's recommendation, seconded by Counselor Sika. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we've accepted the recommendations, and then on Counselor O'Malley's motion to refer this to rules and ordinance, seconded by Counselor Spatafora. All those all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that paper is referred, so that's 38924 gets referred. Do we want it, then 39924? All right, so, and so then on 39924, because we've accepted the planning board recommendation, Counselor O'Malley's recommendation is we place that paper on file with no action.
I'll second that.
Second by Counselor Linehan, so all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? So that, that paper is placed on file without any action. All right, and then we are on to enrolled ordinances, so clerk will read the paper.
Paper 432-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the code of the City of Malden
Thank you.
be amended by adding Title II, Chapter 28, Section 100, union benefits applicable to non-union members. This is enrolled and needs to be ordained tonight.
Okay, so we did enroll it, we're ordaining. Anybody have any questions? Counselor Linehan, do you have anything else? So Counselor Linehan makes a motion to ordain the ordinance, seconded by Counselor Spatafora. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, so that is ordained, so clerk will read the next paper.
Paper 434-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, Title 6, Chapter 08, Section 070, Licensing of Marijuana Establishments, is hereby amended as follows. And that has already been read into the record at the last meeting when it was enrolled, so now we need to ordain.
So on Counselor Linehan's motion to ordain, seconded by Counselor Sika, or Counselor Crowe, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That ordinance is hereby ordained. Next order of business, committee reports. By Counselor Crowe. All right, so, okay.
Paper 500-24, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred papers 314 and 448 through 476, series of 2024, having considered the same, make the following report.
I would say, okay, so on Counselor Sika's motion to receive the report, seconded by Counselor Colin Hayes. All those in favor say aye. All right, any opposed? All right, the committee report is received. Counselor, let's see, should we have, do you want to read the papers? All right, so clerk will read the papers. All right. Yeah, that was 46724. It's all right.
Paper 314-24, petition, Amusement Machines, Kittleton, Inc., 423 Main Street, 3 machines. Paper 448, Amusement Machines, Flaming Grill and Buffet, 52 Broadway, Malden, 3 machines. Paper 449-24, Amusement Machines, GLS Associates Incorporated, 50 Holden Street, 5 machines. Paper 450-24, Amusement Machines, Italian American Vets Post 16, 40 Oakland Street, 4 machines. Paper 451-24, Amusement Machines, Loyal Order of the Moose Lodge, 1910, 562 Broadway, 2 machines. Paper 452-24, Class 2, Andy Service Center, Inc., 356 Lebanon Street, 3 cars. Paper 353-24, Class 2, Autotech 2, Incorporated, 1236 Eastern Avenue, 5 cars. Paper 454-24, Class 2, Friends Auto Group, LLC, 225 Eastern Avenue, 17 cars. Paper 455-24, Class 2, GP Motorcycle Supply, 420 Broadway, 4 motorcycles. Paper 456-22, Class 2, Hub Starters and Alternators, Inc., 172 Broadway, 4 cars. Paper 457-24, Class 2, Jordan Motors, Inc., DBA Malden Auto Sales, 147 Ferry Street, 24 cars. Paper 458-24, Class 2, Quality Auto Sales, Inc., 856 Eastern Avenue, 5 cars. Paper 459-24, Class 2, Reliance Motor Group, LLC, 28 Broadway, 38 cars. Paper 460-24, Class 2, Richards Motor Cars, Inc., 672 Broadway, 77 cars. Paper 461-24, Class 2, River Auto Sales, Inc., 77 Eastern Avenue, 21 cars. Paper 462-24, Class 2, Scott M. Fitzpatrick, DBA Wentworth Auto Sales, 730 Eastern Avenue, 15 cars. Paper 463-24, Extended Hours, Bodeborg, Boston, 90 Pleasant Street, hours, occasional, Saturday and Sunday events, 12 a.m. to 9 a.m. Paper 464-24, Extended Hours, Speedway, LLC, Store 2504, 214 Broadway, 7 days, 24 hours. Paper 465-24, Extended Hours, Dance Crisp Corp., DBA Duncan, 980 Eastern Avenue, hours, 7 days, 4 a.m. to 12 a.m. Paper 466-24, Extended Hours, MRM Donuts Corp., DBA Duncan, 617 Broadway, hours, 7 days, 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. Paper 468-24, Extended Hours, L&K Pool Hall, 77 Exchange Street, hours, 7 days, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Paper 469-24, Extended Hours, LGM Donuts, DBA Honeydew Donuts, 691 Eastern Ave, hours, 7 days, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Paper 470-24, Fortune Teller, Angie Mark Psychic Readings, 49 Broadway. Paper 471-24, Fortune Teller, Chris Bergen, Full Heart Tarot Readings and more, 73 Linden Avenue, number 1. Paper 472-24, Livery Company, Lux Ride, 500 Broadway, Unit 4102. Paper 473-24, Livery Driver, Mohammed Waleed, 500 Broadway, Unit 4102. Paper 474, Petition for Taxi Driver, John D. Domenico, 28 Spring Street, Malden. Paper 475, Petition for Taxi Driver, Ronald C. McCray, 11 Tower Street, Apartment 3, Boston. Paper 476-24, Petition for a Taxi Driver, David McNamara, 51 Melrose Street, 2A, Melrose.
All right, well, I'll take a deep breath for Carol Ann. Whew. Speed reading, you didn't realize that was part of the job description, huh? So good. All right, now that we all taken a deep breath, Counselor Sika for the committee. Oh, sorry, yep, sorry. There you go, great.
Thank you. The License Committee met this evening to discuss all of these petitions. The majority of them are renewals, some of them were new. We met with the compliance guys, there were no issues with any of them, and they were passed out unanimously to grant from the License Committee. So I make a motion that we grant all of these petitions.
All right. On Counselor Sika's motion to grant all the petitions, seconded by Counselor Spatafora. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so those petitions are all granted.
Carol
Right.
Ann, really quickly, do we have to do anything with the other one or no?
No, I'll reflect in the minutes that
Okay.
it wasn't read into the record because it was tabled in committee, and we'll
Perfect.
bring it back next time.
Great, thank you.
All right,
Paper 501-24, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred papers 431-24, Series of 2024, having considered the same, make the following report.
all right, on Counselor Linehan's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Counselor Colon Hayes. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, so the committee report is received. Clerk will read the paper.
Paper 431-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, Title 11, Chapter 24, Section 020, Subsection C, sitting and installation of wireless communications equipment is hereby amends as follows. This paper has been read into the record the first time it came to the floor. It's since been
we'll
amended.
save you a few things. All right, so Counselor McDonald, Counselor Linehan for the committee. Oh, yep, sorry, thanks, great. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I may hand it to Councilor McDonald to talk a little bit more about the substance of what we've done, but just by way of background of how we got to this point. So as folks know, the Public Property Committee hears petitions for small cell antennas, which are essentially the 5G technology on poles around the city. And what, as often happens, the technology has evolved, and as the last kind of tranche of small cell applications have come in, the ordinance is really out of step with what the equipment looks like and what the petitioners are asking for. And so as the Public Property Committee started to kind of dive into this, we realized that what we really needed to do was make some space in the ordinance to update what we are requiring, and also to give ourselves a little bit of latitude to be able to maybe approve things that don't meet those requirements, as things are evolving in a faster manner than our council is able to necessarily take up, what the physical dimensions ought to be to reflect that. So how this ended up in ordinance is that we have decided that we need to do some work on the section of our ordinance that deals with small cells. But as we started to dig into it, and lots of credit to Councilor McDonald and Spatafor, who have done a lot of research with our building commissioner, we really realized that neighboring communities have better models, or models that we could take some inspiration from, and also that there's probably a larger effort that needs to happen here to update this ordinance. So what we've done in the updated paper here is tried to make some changes that will, again, before we crack open the code and do these bigger changes, will give us the ability to approve things that we deem to be in the public good, but that might not strictly comply with the code now. And then we've made some interim dimensional and appearance changes of what's allowable and what we think will protect the public way and be compliant with what we need to do in terms of the real estate on the poles. So we did meet earlier tonight to discuss this. Our ordinance committee unanimously recommended this favorably, and subsequent to that vote, the Public Property Committee did meet to take up some petitions that are before them. So if Councilor Spatafor and McDonald have anything to add in terms of what they're trying to do kind of longer term here, I think it'd be helpful for the public to understand. It's, again, a case of the technology evolves, the equipment evolves, and we're just trying to make sure that we are keeping our streets and our residents safe and making the appearance as palatable as possible.
All right, Councilor McDonald, you just want to explain a
Sure.
little bit about the three
Yep.
recommended major points of the amendment, and then I think
Yes.
we have to actually kind of strike the original paper and then add these.
That's correct.
Correct.
Thank you that was a great summary, Councilor Linehan. And because the Public Property Committee is only 3 people, we can't really plan for how we're gonna talk about things, because we can't really talk outside the meeting. So we brought that discussion to the Rules and Ordinance Committee meeting. The paper that I submitted was done in that spirit of a starting point for discussion, and was very much, it was a very collegial discussion in the Rules and Ordinance Committee. Appreciation to Councilor Spatafora, who did some real research into some of our neighboring communities' ways of dealing with this. And we ultimately decided, and did this today, to take a narrow approach that allows us to consider with integrity the petitions before us, and then take more time to think about the overall approach to the code. This whole section of the code is quite detailed. It talks about the way in which you have to file petitions. It talks about the dimensional controls of the equipment on small cell equipment and how it's installed. That's what our amendments pertain to, because that's the place where our petitions diverge from current ordinance. And then it talks about, how the public hearings will proceed, how the notifications will proceed, the timeline for review. And so we will talk about the petitions themselves in just a minute in this meeting. Ultimately, the changes that we're recommending, which are consistent with again, some neighboring communities, is 3 things. One is to revise the maximum exterior volume of the primary equipment cabinet, or what is called the shroud, which I feel like is kind of dramatic, but nonetheless, which is it's the big box on the pole that includes the actual small cell, that includes the computational kind of equipment, so it protects it. So that would be revised from 7 cubic feet to 24 cubic feet. The second is to clarify that the limit of how far something can be above the ground doesn't relate to the meter socket. So that is really something that's determined by the utility company, but it does under ordinance have to be included as part of the petition and the plan for the installation. So this would exclude the meter, which is regulated by the utility company, from the height. These things are still high enough that you couldn't touch them just walking down the street. They're still at a safe height, but it's not germane to what the small cell petitioner is trying to do. And then we are clarifying that we're extending the height of possible antennas to be not just more than 50 inches above the height of the pole, but more than 60 inches above the height of the pole. The antennas that we're looking at now are in a little bit different format. They're a bit thinner than had previously been able to be used, so that we don't think that causes a problem. And so the recommendation is to extend above that, no part of the communications equipment, so inclusive of the antenna, shall extend above the pole more than 60 inches or 10% of the pole height. And I typed this up very fast at the end of committee. We need to include a comma, whichever is higher at the end of that little amendment there. So just make a mark about that for our counselors who are following along our printout right here. All right, well, that has been very juicy, no doubt, and I know everyone's following along in this level of detail. We would then strike this originally proposed language in its entirety about the ability to just give us a blanket more flexibility. Going forward, I think our hope is to create some more pre-approved designs that we work with the building commissioner to do. That's how Boston and Cambridge and some other cities handle that. And that'll just reduce the load on the Public Properties Committee for doing, routine kinds of things and evaluating. We rely on the building commissioner's evaluation as it is of these applications. So it'll streamline the process. That's our hope. If we can have some more standard approvals that standard models that don't require council approval to deviate from that. That don't require council approval unless you deviate from that. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. All right,
So,
that's what I thought about this, and
Okay.
I'll just defer to Councilor Spatafor if he wants to add anything else.
Okay. So, I guess what I'll say is on Counselor McDonald's motion to amend the paper to delete the proposed amendment and substitute the changes he just discussed, which has been handed
Do
out.
we need to amend to add whichever is higher separately from that?
I think that I can just include that as part of the amendment I'm making.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
okay.
so, yeah, so just understanding it includes whichever is higher, which counts for a minute. So inconsistent with the, striking the language that was filed as the draft and then substituting the language that Councilor McDonald just introduced. So any questions on that? Seconded by Councilor Linehan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the paper is amended, and then on Councilor Linehan's motion to enroll the paper, seconded
As
by,
amended.
as amended, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we are enrolled, and now we'll, because there's an urgency here, what we need to next do is suspend the rules so that we can go ahead and ordain in the same night. So, so I guess on Councilor Linehan's motion to suspend docket rules, seconded by Councilor Spatafora. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Spatafora. Yes. Council President Winslow.
Yes, so our rules are suspended, so now we can take action to ordain. So on Councilor Linehan's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor McDonald, clerk will call the roll on ordaining the ordinance.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Spatafora. Yes. Council President Winslow.
Yes, so having 9 votes in favor, that paper is hereby ordained. Next order of business.
Paper 502-24, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Public Properties, to whom was referred papers 252 and 327, series of 2024. Having considered the same, make the following report.
So on Counselor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Counselor Spatafora, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, the committee report is received. Clerk will read both papers.
Paper 252-24, petition Crown Castle to upgrade existing small wireless facilities on existing utility poles located within the public right-of-way at the 6 following locations: 101 Bellrock Street, 1416 Greenwood Court, 244-248 Main Street, 621 Main Street, 48 Washington Street, 290 Eastern Avenue. And also, paper 327-24, petition Crown Castle to upgrade existing small wireless facilities on existing utility poles located within the public right-of-way at 10 Mill Street, Malden.
Okay, Counselor McDonald for the committee. Let's see, 1 second. All right, there you go, great.
Thank you, Council President. So I want to acknowledge we have Brandy Spezzano from Crown Castle, who's also on Zoom. She is based out of Rochester, New York, so is not able to be here in person, but is available if anyone wants to ask any questions. Thank you for being here, Brandy. She joined us in committee. So these petitions are, as it said, to upgrade.
I'm sorry.
What?
Caroline looks frozen and alone.
I really do. I'm not sure what's happening with
That's
We're
been
just
like-
we're just
that's been
checking
like
1 second.
that
It
a
has been like that.
long
I
time,
agree.
so I
We're
don't know
just
if
we're gonna
Brandy's
check in.
actually here.
Well, that is a good question.
I'm sorry.
No, that's a good question.
To interrupt you.
Can you?
Oh, she
Brandy has raised her
Yes.
hand.
Okay, so she's here.
Okay.
Wave back.
Would
whether
you
she
like
can
to
see-
see if you can promote her to a panelist or allow her to speak?
Well, I was like, oh.
I don't know why
Well,
our
it's okay.
view is
And then
quite
I
different.
was
All right, Brandy, we're allowing you.
Okay, all right.
Hello.
So let's see, and then, can we hear Brandy?
Someone would have let us know.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
we
can hear you.
can.
Can we turn Brandy up at all? Hold on 1 second, Brandy. We can hear you, but it's, the volume is very low.
Says 100%.
Can you say something else?
Sure, I can talk louder.
She sounds like
Is that any better?
Okay.
I don't think it's you. I think it's the speakers in this room. But can folks hear? Can folks
We can
hear?
hear you.
Sort of? All right. Thank you for being here, Brandy. Let me just say very quickly, these, as it says in the paper, are all upgrades to existing installations. Crown Castle represents a couple of different carriers, and so the slightly larger cabinets allow for more capacity for a range of carriers for higher speed wireless internet and cellular usage. So, being able to just being able to make your phone work faster for many of our residents. And I think many people will hopefully see the benefit of that. So they manage those installations and then rent out the space to these telecom companies. So we, in discussing these potential installations with Brandy, did look at any possible other changes. Local ordinances can't simply decline to install telecommunications infrastructure. Like, we have to have reasonable standards so that people can have cell phones. And the reality is the other options that we looked at, I think, don't meet any of our goals any better. It's possible to move some of these installations at Crown Castle's cost, but they don't create less, they're not any less visible. Splitting cabinets into multiple smaller cabinets then just creates more installations, et cetera. So we were prepared to support these. They have to be in kind of a central, a radius related to a radius of a certain feet within where they've been proposed in order to meet the goals of extending coverage. So we ultimately recommended all of those thank you, Brandy, for a couple of extensions in our agreement, and reviewing a couple of options. We ultimately recommended these petitions favorably in consultation and in parallel with this work with the Rules and Ordinance Committee. Brandy, did I capture that correctly, or is there anything you want to add?
That's correct. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Brandy.
Great.
Okay. Any other questions?
All right. Oh, I do want to say thank you to Brandy and Crown Castle for your patience in working with us. We did, it's been a few years since we did the mass first batch of 5G antennas. It's good that you gave us a chance to kind of catch up and make sure we're serving our residents, but also, respecting what we need to do to make sure these fit into our community. So thank you so much. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I'll, on Councilor McDonald's motion to grant the petition, seconded by, was that a yawn or a second there, Paul? Seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those petitions are passed, and on behalf of my wife, Brandy, who's from Buffalo, go Bills, all right? So.
Yes, go Bill.
All right.
Thank you, Brandy.
So it looks like the docket is now clear, and I think sure, okay, sure. Sure, yeah, sure, Councilor Sika. Let me get your mic here, so great.
Councilor O'Malley, can we get rid of these tabled resolves for the new year? Well, the resolve on the car washes, I think, can kind of go away. And then, I don't know about your 15 ferry, but they're just resolved, so we can redo them if we wanted to, instead of having them tabled every week.
Yeah, I think the one for the car wash we can place on file.
Okay.
And then, our Public Properties Committee, I have updates for the other matter.
Okay.
So I would move, I guess I would move to take, 37524 from the table.
All right, so
Second.
on Councilor O'Malley's motion to take paper 37524, related to car washes off the table, second by Councilor Sika. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then on Councilor.
I'd move to place on file.
Motions,
Second.
O'Malley's motion to place it on file, second by Councilor Sika. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so that paper is placed on file and removed from the docket. Anything else? So I think as I heard some, I think councilors would just like me as council president to just wish everybody in Malden a happy holiday season.
Woo-hoo, on
We
behalf
have,
of the whole city council.
and quantity, I think we're speaking for all of us, wave everybody. We are gonna sing Christmas carols now instead of personal privilege, no, just, so we just wish everybody, we're sitting here in council chambers with some beautiful trees here, and there was a wonderful staff meeting that the mayor put on. Just great to see people holiday cheer. I really want to thank all the counselors who, in their own ways, I know Councilor Sika spent all day today working with our police to get toys ready. I know Councilor Linehan and Councilor Taylor and myself and others have been out there. I think everybody in their own way has been helping out, making sure that people in our community in need get the chance to have a very merry holiday season and have opportunity for Christmas. I know I'll be volunteering with Bread of Life, and probably many of the other counselors on Christmas Day to get out Christmas meals. So at noontime at Malden High, there will be the Christmas meal that's put on every year by our Jewish community. And then, and there's also opportunities to deliver as well. And it's amazing, the deliveries go not just to Malden, but basically all over the North Shore. There's literally, hundreds of people that get served. So they're always looking for that. So definitely that. And I say wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, best to on Kwanzaa, and then a Happy New Year. And unless there's anything else at the moment, and just congratulations. I really want to thank everybody for the opportunity to be council president. It was quite an honor. It ended up being a very special year, and I took advantage to go to Malden, England, so that was kind of a little bit of the inspiration. My last kind of unofficial thing will be, I say on January 7th at 6:30, we'll be sort of unveiling some artwork that's been worked on to really celebrate our town and city history. So that'll be, Carolyn will be sending out that note, but just remember on the 7th to come a little bit early, and we'll have a little unveiling up on the 4th floor to kind of celebrate the history of our town halls and that. So Councilor O'Malley, one last thing, you get the last word, and then we're out of here. So
I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for your vote tonight. It really means a lot to me. I promise, Councilor Crowe, that I will not. And, thank you so much.
Not what, cry?
That was before. All right.
Can I really quickly, before we leave, just
Okay, one thing, Counselor Seefy.
I'm just gonna piggyback off of Councilor O'Malley because I honestly believe that this year he has really grown a lot. He's not the same Councilor O'Malley he once was, and I really truly believe that you are gonna, no, I really do think that everything happens for a reason and there's a time and a place for everything, and I truly believe that this is your time to be the council president. I'm hoping and I think that you're gonna be amazing, and I look forward to working with you in the new year, so.
That's so good. Okay, all right. No, okay, all the mics are off here, so, all right. Council is adjourned to the call of the chair.
The question is who?
Oh, who?